Hey, guys, it's me AI and welcome back to my channel Informite. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about Ted Bundy. America's most notorious serial killer Ted Bundy is one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. He confessed to the murder of at least 30 young women and girls in the 1970 seconds, and is believed to have committed many more. Bundy was known for his charm, good looks, and intelligence, which he used to manipulate and lure his victims. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946 in Burlington, Vermont. His mother, Eleanor Cowell, was unmarried and gave birth to him in a home for unwed mothers. Bundy's biological father is unknown, and he was raised as the adopted son of his mother's parents. Bundy had a relatively normal childhood and was described as a shy and introverted child. However, he showed signs of disturbing behavior at an early age. He would often peep into windows of neighbors' houses and became fascinated with knives at a young age. Bundy was also known to have a very active fantasy life. Bundy attended the University of Washington in Seattle in 1966, where he was considered a good student and a promising young man. However, during this time, Bundy's behavior became increasingly erratic. He began shoplifting and was arrested several times for it. He also began to exhibit aggressive behavior towards women, which would later escalate into violence. Bundy's first known murder was committed in 1974, when he was 27 years old. He murdered 2 women in the Chi Omega sorority house at Florida State University in Tallahassee. Bundy went on to murder many more women, many of whom were college students. Bundy was finally captured in 1978 after being pulled over by police and found to be driving a stolen car. He was arrested for possession of burglary tools, and a search of his car turned up ski masks, handcuffs, and other items that were consistent with his crimes. Ted Bundy was known for his intelligence, good looks, and charm, which he used to manipulate his victims. He was described as a master of disguise and was able to assume different identities to gain the trust of his victims. Bundy was diagnosed as a psychopath, meaning he had a personality disorder characterized by a lack of empathy, remorse, and guilt. Psychopaths are often charming and able to manipulate others to get what they want. They have a shallow effect and can appear to be superficially charming or even normal. It is believed that Bundy suffered from antisocial personality disorder, a condition in which a person consistently disregards the rights and feelings of others. This condition often begins in childhood and can be linked to abuse or neglect. Bundy's early life and behavior suggests that he may have suffered from this condition. Bundy's modus operandi MO involved luring his victims into his car or a secluded area before assaulting and murdering them. He often used a fake injury, such as a broken arm, to gain the sympathy and trust of his victims. Once he had their trust, he would overpower them and take them to a secluded location, where he would sexually assault and murder them. Bundy was also known for his signature bite marks on his victims, which he left as a calling card. These bite marks were instrumental in his eventual capture and conviction. Ted Bundy's crimes have had a lasting impact on American culture and have influenced the way we think about serial killers. His case was one of the first to be heavily covered by the media, and it raised questions about the nature of evil and the psychology of serial killers. Bundy's case also had a profound impact on the criminal justice system. His conviction and eventual execution helped to establish the use of forensic evidence, such as bite marks, in criminal investigations and trials. Bundy was tried and convicted of the murder of 2 Chi Omega sorority sisters in 1979. He was sentenced to death and sent to Florida's death row. Bundy was executed by electric chair on January 24, 1989, at the age of 42. His last words were reportedly, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." His crimes and his execution remain some of the most infamous in American history. Ted Bundy's life and crimes have been the subject of countless books, movies, and documentaries. He remains a figure of fascination and horror, and his crimes continue to shock and horrify people to this day. Bundy's story is a stark reminder of the evil that exists in the world and the devastating effects that it can have on innocent lives. In conclusion, Ted Bundy was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. His crimes were brutal and senseless, and they continue to shock and horrify people to this day. Bundy's case is a reminder of the evil that exists in the world and the devastating effects that it can have on innocent lives. However, it has also had a lasting impact on our understanding of criminal psychology and the criminal justice system. Now let's talk about Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was an American serial killer and sex offender who committed the murder and dismemberment of 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991. He was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history, and his crimes continue to shock and horrify people to this day. Dahmer was born on May 21, 1960, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He had a difficult childhood and was reportedly a lonely child who had trouble making friends. Dahmer's parents had a troubled marriage, and they divorced when he was 18. After the divorce, Dahmer's mother moved to another state, leaving him alone in the family home. Dahmer began his killing spree in 1978, when he picked up a hitchhiker and took him back to his home. There, he drugged and strangled the young man before dismembering his body and disposing of the remains. Dahmer repeated this pattern with many of his subsequent victims, often targeting young, gay men and boys. Dahmer was known for his gruesome and disturbing methods of disposing of his victims' bodies. He would often keep body parts, including heads, in his apartment for several days before disposing of them. He also practiced cannibalism and necrophilia. Dahmer was finally arrested in 1991, after one of his intended victims managed to escape and alert the police. When the police arrived at Dahmer's apartment, they discovered a house of horrors, with body parts and photographs of his victims scattered throughout. Dahmer initially pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity, but he was found guilty of 15 counts of murder and sentenced to 15 consecutive life sentences. He was later found guilty of 2 additional murders and sentenced to 2 more life sentences. Dahmer was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and was described as having a deeply disturbed and troubled psyche. He reportedly had a fixation with death and had a history of harming animals as a child. It is believed that Dahmer's crimes were motivated by his desire for complete control over his victims. He reportedly had a deep-seated fear of abandonment and was afraid that his victims would leave him. The case of Jeffrey Dahmer has had a profound impact on American culture and has influenced the way we think about serial killers. Dahmer's crimes were particularly gruesome and disturbing, and they have continued to fascinate and horrify people to this day. Dahmer's case also had a significant impact on the criminal justice system. His trial and conviction helped to establish the use of forensic evidence, such as DNA testing, in criminal investigations and trials. In conclusion, Jeffrey Dahmer was one of the most notorious serial killers in American history. His crimes were particularly gruesome and disturbing, and they continue to shock and horrify people to this day. Dahmer's case is a reminder of the evil that exists in the world and the devastating effects that it can have on innocent lives. However, it has also had a lasting impact on our understanding of criminal psychology and the criminal justice. After Dahmer was arrested and his crimes were revealed to the public, he became a media sensation. People were fascinated by his crimes, and Dahmer himself became somewhat of a celebrity, with many people writing to him in prison and even sending him money. However, Dahmer did not enjoy his newfound fame and reportedly felt deep remorse for his actions. In interviews with the press, he expressed regret for the pain and suffering he had caused his victims' families and the wider community. Dahmer's trial was highly publicized and garnered a great deal of media attention. The gruesome details of his crimes shocked the world, and many people found it difficult to comprehend how one person could commit such atrocities. Dahmer was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While in prison, he was attacked and beaten by other inmates, and he eventually died in 1994 from injuries sustained in one of these attacks. In the years since his death, Dahmer's crimes have continued to be the subject of books, movies, and other media. Some people have even speculated that he may have had more victims than the 17 he was convicted of murdering. Despite the passing of time, the case of Jeffrey Dahmer remains one of the most notorious and shocking in American criminal history. His crimes continue to fascinate and horrify people, and his legacy serves as a reminder of the importance of understanding and preventing violent crime. Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy are two of the most infamous and brutal psychopaths in modern history. Both men committed heinous crimes that shocked the world and left lasting scars on their victims and their families.